Welcome to our weekly tech review, where we explore the latest trends, news, and updates from the world of technology. This podcast is the perfect source for staying up to date with what is important to know right now. With me today, I have Henrike from Free Tech Academy and Vincent from Update, and myself. Hi, I'm Tarek from Ideas Engineering. You can watch all episodes on YouTube or listen to us on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcast while you work out, drive, or maybe even travel through space. So, and without any further ado, let's jump into the news. And today we have a kind of special situation because we are not going to talk about the general news because we are recording today on Tuesday, June the 6th. And all the Apple enthusiasts know what this means. This is the day after the WWDC. And I know for a fact that we three were enjoying the show yesterday and have a lot of impressions. Maybe my first questions for you two. How did you watch the WWDC yesterday?
On my iPhone.
Nice.
Yeah, that is quite... Because I was on my way back home and then I started watching it. And then, it lasted 2 hours something. Yeah. And I didn't switch devices in between, so yeah.
I watched it on Apple's website. I used to watch it on Apple's website long ago. Not every event was live. A lot of the events had to be downloaded via the podcast app in 2012 or something. And then and now and earlier 2012 was iPhone 5. I did it on my iPod already, so 29, something like that. But now it's available on the website. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, yesterday, Alex and I, we were literally sitting down. We are all situated here in Germany. So in terms of time zones, it was like prime time in the evening. So 7 p.m., I think. And we were sitting down and we had something to eat. And we tuned it on our TV over the Apple TV. And we were watching it instead of like a movie or a TV show or something. It was literally like the evening entertainment watching Tim Apple. if you know, do you recognize this joke with Tim Apple? It's like a Donald Trump joke.
Shit, no.
Really. It was in the time when Donald Trump was still president. He had like a big meeting with Tim Cook, and he was later, I think, at a press conference talking about this, and he named him like I was sitting down with Tim Apple, and this was one like a giant joke.
We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wow! But I was actually surprised. Speaking still of like watching it, that later on I saw in my Insta or social bubble so many people who watched it, like also in public viewing, or were even there in the US. I was like, what? The past years, I'm not aware that it was that big of a hype. So I was slightly confused, or maybe I just didn't pay attention in the past years, but kind of doubt it. Anyway, so many people were watching it also in public viewing kind of scenarios, which is quite interesting.
Right. Yeah. I think in the past there were always like these fan people who are really, really excited about this conference. And sometimes I'm very confused about that because they are pilgriming there and they are really celebrating, and then it's about like new icons and I don't know, a bigger screen on the iPhone or something. And I was always wondering, what is the big hype? I mean, it's great products and everything, but it's just like the next generation. But I think this year was kind of special because everyone was expecting big news that we are waiting for a very, very long time. And spoiler alert, finally, we got the big news that Apple is going to release not only like a new version of something or a new product, but actually a new product line, something completely new, something that we did not have for quite a long time. I think we talked about this yesterday, that the last big product line launch was the Apple Watch, which is already kind of old news. And now we have the Apple Vision Pro. As a spoiler, we are going to talk about this today. But yeah, so Vincent, do you want to introduce the WWDC and what your highlights were, maybe? Oh, I can switch to the article.
Yeah, absolutely. Either to exactly, perfect. Too. I think we can just briefly cover the WWDC as a whole. I mean, WWDC traditionally is a software conference. It used to be a hardware conference, but specifically it is for software developers. And for the ones who are with us for quite some time, or not us, but with technology in general, WWDC had a different name before, and it was called Macworld. So it is traditionally about Mac, the Macintosh. And therefore, usually big updates for the Mac are announced there, including the software outlook for the fall when the new software is dropping, including and together with the new iPhone and other devices. It depends on when. So they gave us an outlook for the iOS 17 and the new macOS being called Sonoma. And I have to say that they were not underwhelming, but they also were not overwhelming. I feel like the updates they're making to the software this year are, I would say, more like a soft update. It's a bit more customization abilities. I think iPadOS got the biggest bump with smart PDF scanning. It was interesting because suddenly Apple was very keen on mentioning everywhere that an AI is supporting the new software everywhere. So that is kind of funny. I think the biggest updates besides that, watchOS also got a decent update, but besides that, I think the things that are the biggest one to mention is that there's a new MacBook Air. Apparently, Apple sees a huge increase in MacBook Air sales, and I think we all get why. The chip that's currently in there for the value is kind of great. And then Apple did something that was long awaited, which is that they updated the Mac Pro. And Mac Pro is something that I think only the pros know. It is a stationary desktop computer that is extremely expensive because it is for the high end user. And this, until yesterday, was still an Intel-based Mac, and with that, the only Intel-based Mac that is state available from Apple. And what made it so pro, or makes it pro, is the upgradability. So it is a very regular case that you can open up and you can upgrade. You could put in more SSDs. You can put in an afterburner card. You can put in an audio card or whatnot. Whatever you want to do, you can put it in there. There's a lot of PCI Express spots, and et cetera, et cetera. So this year they launched one more M2 chip, the M-line chip, which is M2 Ultra. And M2 Ultra is the highline of what Apple is producing currently, and with that they call the M chip lineup complete. So I think we can expect that this will stay in these lines for at least maybe 1 or 2 upgrade cycles. And they brought it to the Mac Pro, and with that Intel is completely out of Apple products which are selling. And what I find so interesting about it is that the upgradability is not something that Apple is really known for. And the Mac Pro lineup, it was still, as I said, is something that upgradability is key of it. And now we've never seen how a silicon chip works actually with other devices, right? I mean, how does it work with additional SSD storage? How does it work with more RAM? Is that something that you upgrade still then? Because the Intel computer Macs were still working in this very basic model of a GPU, you have a chip that runs it all, which was i9, I think. You had RAM that you could upgrade. And now I don't know how much of this upgradability is actually possible. I still have to dig into it. So that I think is really, really interesting. And then obviously, and I think that, that actually covers it. The biggest thing then, obviously something that Apple was working towards also in the presentation, is actually the one more thing that we, just as you said, heard the last time with the Apple Watch, releasing the Vision Pro. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, and we were sitting on the couch and we were waiting and nothing was happening. And then when he stand on the stage and said one more thing, we were literally saying, yeah, we knew it. Even though I would have bet against it, because in the past years we were always waiting for this final announcement of jumping into of Apple. Sorry. It's been a while.
You're so excited. That's why you drop everything.
And it's been a while that I'm working with physical note taking. Usually I take everything like.
Oh, that is so interesting. And our other podcast, for everyone who's listening right now, we do have another podcast where it's a bit more chill. We're also talking about tech, but also talk about other things. Tarek, I will ask why you do that. How does it come that you're working with physical notebook again? I've never seen that before.
I don't know. For some reason, I had the urge to take some notes with a pen on paper. I don't know. I was watching content about the Apple Vision Pro, and I thought like I want to write this down. So I took like old school my pen and paper.
What do you think about the Henrike, help me here.
Journaling.
The journaling app, exactly. Well, Tarek, what do you think about it? Henrike think it's stupid. I like it a lot. What do you think, Tarek? Break our tie.
My thoughts were, okay, Apple is reinventing something that does not necessarily need to be reinvented. And so in the first glance, I think it's an unnecessary development. On the other hand, something that I really enjoy on my phone is, I think it's from Amazon. I'm using Amazon Photo as a photo repository, and it's included in Amazon Prime, and so why not? It's free, and I have unlimited storage for photography, so I automatically upload all my pictures up there.
I have unlimited storage.
Yeah. As a Prime user, you have unlimited photo storage. And it's uploading automatically, and so every picture that I take, it's uploaded there. And the one thing that I actually enjoyed about this is that it tells me like, on this day today, 7 years ago, you were visiting this and that place, and let me show you like a gallery of pictures that you took there. And this is, I kind of enjoy this, even though I'm not actively journaling. It is kind of a photo journal from this day, and so I could imagine that actively creating this journal and filing this journal and then being able to go back to certain entries, it might be interesting. Even though I think it would be too much work for me to actively do this journaling. So I'm
so with you, Tarek. Yeah. And I want to clarify, I never said that this is totally useless or whatever. I just said yesterday, I do not see myself using it actively as it's supposed to be used. I think what you just mentioned, having this like automatic curation of things that happened, putting it together, and like me going in there, having a look and being like, like happy about that, and just, use it as some memory or whatever. But I do not see myself actively then adding notes to it on a regular basis. Like maybe I know myself, maybe I start with it and it's like, it's fun to do and whatever, but it won't last. So I probably won't be using it as it should be used.
But I think this logic applies from the old world of journaling. I know this is we're getting way too deep into that. And I mean, it comes just like freeform actually with this new system update. So everybody who wants can go to system update on iOS and enable auto update. And with auto update, you can also enable a profile you want to choose. Usually it's set to standard, but you can set it to iOS 17 public, but also to developer beta. So if anybody is interested in what we're just talking about, the beta for developers is out already. So check it out. I obviously didn't do it. I will wait until public beta. I think it will come in July. But anyways, so I think, Henrike, and also Tarek, to you, I agree with you that this traditional way of journaling is nothing we're interested in if we're not already doing it, because we actively have to open it up, write it down, or I don't know, open an app, type it in, add a photo, add anything. The beauty of it is that this is different this time, because when let's be honest, our life is on that device. A big portion of our life. Photos on there, telephone is on there, WhatsApp is on there, work is on there a lot, at least for me. and browsers on there, and a lot of apps we use. So I would argue a lot of our private life is on that phone. So now, what Journal will do, it's not Journal. What is it called actually? I don't know. The app, but it maybe Tarek, you can scroll through the verge and see it. But what the beauty of it is that it will automatically curate for you. So we don't have to put in a lot. It will automatically curate. And actually, putting in a text is optional. They will give you a prompt. You can answer it, but you don't have to. And that, I think, is the beautiful part of it, because that means it will auto journal for you. And that, I think, it's called Journal. Okay. Yeah. So, and I think that is the beauty of it, because it will break this traditional way of journaling, and make way for this automatically curated thing. Just like Tarek, you're using your Amazon photo library to scroll through it automatically. OneDrive does it too. Actually, I do it sometimes too. Very true. But this will do it with much more than photos, and this is why I think this is not reinventing something that did not need reinventing.
And I think this is probably like the critical thing, that it's doing it automatically, because you won't convert, as you just said, you won't convert someone who did not do this into doing it just because it's from Apple, but actually having it like auto-generated, even though I can't really imagine how it's going to do this more than just collecting photos. I have to try.
I can tell you actually how I will do this, because it will take auto take exemplary text messages. It will take notes. It will take FaceTime and regular phone calls.
But hopefully with my permission, not just like
no. This is
like
just
emails from
this is
the
actually it is so important that the privacy of that will stay stored just like Face ID on your device. So this will is only transferable somewhere else. It's not going through iCloud, because it is that private.
And they said that you can decide on which stuff, if they should really also track your messages or just your photos or whatever data you want to have in your journal. You can decide on that.
Yeah. Okay, I must admit that I was not 100% listening to all the details of this
Apparently
feature.
not,
Tarek. I was so focused on what was announced later, because if you know me, you know that I am actually a VR enthusiast. And in 2019, I bought like a gaming PC with a Valve Index as like the high-end VR solution, because I was expecting this market to evolve. And in the past years, nothing big was happening apart from like the Quest, as something that was kind of evolving. And now with the Apple Vision Pro, we finally see like a new player on this market, pushing it forward. And there's one story that I want to quickly tell you, which I'm talking about for years. And finally, it totally makes sense. Because in 2018, I was at the Magic Leap Developer Conference. And this one was a conference in California where they were introducing the concept of spatial computing. You might have heard this yesterday on this conference, that people were amazed about like this new thing of spatial computing. And I was thinking like, no, it's not that new. We are talking about this for years, but now Apple is inventing spatial computing. And with the same thing where they say, like the operating system, I forgot the name, visionOS or something, where they
visionOS.
The visionOS, it's the first operating system built from ground up with spatial computing in its mind. And I was thinking, it was the same thing in 2018 when Magic Leap was introducing LumenOS, the first operating system built from ground up for spatial computing. So no, everything was already in there, and all their concept demos, from entertainment over like watching VR generated basketball game where you can move around and everything. Those were exactly the features that were presented with Magic Leap. And so basically it was a copy one by one of all the concepts, with a big difference that in 2018 we had all of these concept demos. They were not really working well, and it was always like a little bit buggy and these things, and with a way worse resolution and everything. And they did not make it to market, right? And their first headset was at a price point of $2,500. It was already like very expensive back then. Yeah. And when I was seeing everything, I thought, the creators of Magic Leap, they must be furious watching this, because Apple is now releasing what Magic Leap was always planning to do, almost with the same wordings and the same titles, with spatial computing and everything. Yeah,
I think Apple is just really good, just really well. What Apple is doing really well is that Apple is taking things that are already on the market, they're giving it a new name and putting it out there. I mean, silicon chips have been a thing before Apple, and still they're doing it again. And 3D audio, spatial audio, these things exist for ages. And they took it, gave it a new name, done. Retina display. It's just a really high resolution display, but it's a liquid Retina display, a liquid LED display now. Oh yeah, have we seen that before?
Right.
But they're calling it differently, and it's the same here.
Yeah, and in the end, Apple is going to be the winner of this game. Yeah, Magic Leap still exists, but they do not have like the market authority of spatial computing. They do not have like a working, consumer-oriented device on the market, which people are actually using for exactly those use cases that Apple is showing right now. And
but Tarek, when you went to this conference, and you have a lot of those, I know for a fact that you have, I think, 2 headsets at home currently. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So no. Yeah.
What did you think of? What did you think of Vision Pro?
I have a lot of thoughts. And first, I was very skeptical, because I was expecting a price point of something like $6,000 or something. And it was kind of exactly what I was expecting. And the biggest thing is the build quality. This is what they are showing for the resolution of, I think it was more than 4K pixels per eye, which is amazing, which is exactly what we always were waiting for. And the lenses, the special lenses that actually provide a field of view that is compatible with the human eye. And this is something that I think no other VR headset was able to produce yet. You were always having like this limited field of view, so that you were never really immersed in this realm. And this, with the new headset, is now done. They have a resolution that you can see without having like this grid effect of the screen, and without the limited field of view, so you can really immerse. Then you have this pass-through mode where you see the environment around you if you want to, or immerse completely into the world, and with the trackers for your fingers and everything. So technically they did what Apple is always doing. They develop their devices until they feel they are ready for market. People will be able to actually enjoy it without big limitations. But
Tarek, you just jumped over before we come to the but. Can you just one more time maybe explain for the listeners who maybe are not so, I don't know, they're not that deep into that world. You just jumped over the tracking for the fingers, the scanners. Maybe can you say one sentence about why this sounds like an easy thing, but is such a game changer?
Yeah, absolutely. In the past, we always had this problem that we have to have a sensor in these devices to track input. Yeah, for example, on my PC, I have a mouse and a keyboard, and those are like the standard devices. With these headsets, these VR headsets, we usually have controllers, like gaming controllers. You have them in your hands, and you have buttons, and you can actually move them around in 3-dimensional space, which is cool for gaming, for example. But if you want to use a headset like this in your everyday life, you do not want to carry a controller with you. And so the obvious thing is having some kind of tracking of your hands. And the prototype prototypical implementation in former headsets was you have certain gestures. For example, if you want to swipe, you have like a hand movement. And usually these headsets have their cameras in the front. And the big problem was always like you have to move your hand into like your visual display, and you have to make your hand movements, and this kind. And the Apple headset, they now have their cameras or additional cameras on the bottom of the headset. So it does not only see what you see in your front, but it also films like your lap where your resting hands are lying. So if you want to, let's say, make a selection on your screen, you can do this by looking at the element that you want to select with your eyes, because it is tracking your eye movement. So you see the cursor or the app that you want to select, and you make your, like with your hand in your lap, this movement, whatever it is that they selected as selection. And then it can take this as selected. So you do not have to learn like a library of crazy gestures, but it simply observes your hands lying, resting in your lap. And so this is very user-oriented, where they say, okay, this is like an intuitive way of selecting things simply by watching your hands that are lying in your lap. And so this is, if this is actually working as expected, I did not test it yet, obviously, but if this is as they show in the demo, this is amazing. It's so simple, and this is perfect Apple. Yeah.
And I want to add to the visual part before we probably jump to others. What I really appreciate, and probably Tarek, you're with me here, they thought about us who are wearing glasses.
Yeah.
Because this is always a pain, no matter what kind of device there've been in the past. You know, it's always a pain to have it over your glasses, and the collaboration they have with Zeiss, making sure that, you know, you can include your prescription into the glasses to really, you can put that away and just have the Vision Pro in front of you. That to me was like, okay, great. They really thought this through and didn't ignore us at this point.
Right. And again, I have to give kudos to Magic Leap, because in 2018 they had magnetic inlays which you could use for like prescription lenses, and you put them in there. But it was, back then, it was like a prototype. You had like, I think 2 or 3 models that you can select, and they did not have these contracts with Zeiss and the plan of rolling out for individual prescriptions or something like that. You had to take care of this by yourself. So they were already thinking about that, but it was not implemented. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Apple does not say, yeah, somewhen in the next years we are going to make a contract with Zeiss, and then you might be able to add your prescription lenses in there. But at the date of the rollout, they say, this is the technology, give us your prescription data, and we will supply you with the Magic lenses. So I assume that they will do this, but at least like the framework is there.
I'm sure. I'm really looking forward how they're going to roll this out in in Apple Store, because I'm sure they're going to do it online, of course. Yeah. But I think this is something that first will sell via Apple Store, because you need to try it out, right? Just like Apple Watch that sold because it was available in Apple Store. You could touch it, you can feel, you can. So I am so excited to see how they're going to roll out their retail stores, how the retail strategy is actually going to look like.
Yeah.
But Tarek, you had a big butt coming. And also some thoughts about it.
Let me tell you about my big butt.
I like big butts.
No, the thing is, or the big bet that I had with basically everyone was, I as an enthusiast, am I going to directly order this device as soon as it is available? And the answer is no, I actually won't. Even though my biggest concern was it is going to cost like $6,000 or $8,000. It's cheaper. It's only $3,500, as they said, even though it is like $3,500 before taxes. And if you want to have it like in Europe, you have to like probably pay more. So it's going to be like 4,000 or 4,500 euros or something like that. So it is not a small price to pay. And as I said, it was already like a big thing to pay $2,500 for the Magic Leap back then in 2018. Yeah, so this is the one thing. But there are other considerations where you see that even though this device is market ready and it is working fine, and I'm pretty sure it has like an amazing usability and fun using it. I read that it is still kind of heavy. So it is bulky, even though it is nicely designed, it is full of features and it works well. It is heavy, and you probably saw that they have this cable on the side. And this cable is actually the battery. So there is like a battery dongling in this, and you have to put it into your pocket or somewhere. Because the headset is already that heavy that if you would integrate the battery in there, it would become even hotter and heavier, and so the usability would be even worse. Yeah, and so those are small features where I would say, yeah, it is going to be better and slimmer and lighter and maybe even cheaper over time. And they are launching this new device now as the first edition of a new product line, like the iPhone 1. Or iPhone, what it was called, right? And so paying right now $3,500, or let's say more, 4,500 euros for this device, it is for, and I also read this at some bloggers that were there at the actually developer conference part of the conference, and they said the target audience for this first generation is enthusiasts and the developers. And so, of course, if I am an absolute Apple enthusiast or the absolute VR enthusiast, I have to have this and I'm going to pay a lot of money for this. Or if I am a developer or developer studio, then I need this for developing apps or other integrated systems with this device. And so this is the target audience for this specific implementation. And over the next 5 years, this device will be developed further and further. And so at some point of time, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to buy this, but maybe not the first edition because it is extremely expensive and does not have like all perfection that we can expect in the next years.
My hope actually is that we will, since it is first going to be rolled out in Europe, but my hope in the US, I'm sorry. My hope is that we will so first of all, the name Vision Pro suggests that there's going to be a Vision. No, I mean look at Apple's lineup. There is a Vision Pro. There's an iPhone Pro. There's an iPad Pro. There is a Mac Pro.
Yeah.
There's AirPods Pro. There's Apple Watch Ultra, not Pro. So I would argue that there is a budget headwear coming. I'm not saying it's going to be the first one launched in Europe. Pretty sure no. But what I think is, or what I hope is that by the time it comes to Europe, we're going to see the second version of it. And I actually very much second what you just said, Tarek, because I think it depends a bit on also the device you look at. AirPods did not necessarily the biggest upgrade. iPhone, I would say, yeah. But when you look at iPad, there you can see exactly that. The first iPad was bulky. It was had not the best camera. It had no camera at all. I'm sorry, had not the best battery life. And then iPad 2 came, and iPad 2 was actually 50% of the size in terms of thickness, and actually came with a much better camera, and that was revolutionary. Came with a camera and a battery. So a much better battery. So I think you're very right about this.
Yeah, and yes, I would have expected that the Pro version would come later than like the initial version. But you're totally right. It might be that they start to impress with this particular device, and then there will be a budget version without the Pro for half the price or something like this. It could be. And with as we see with all the other devices, if they create like a product line, this means that there will be selections and configurability for us users in the long run. This is totally possible.
I could see, I mean, when you look at the features right now, you see that the screen on the outside, for example, it makes the Apple Vision Pro as unique as it is. But I could potentially see that, for example, I don't know, say in B2B or in education, you don't necessarily need that. And that, for example, when you look at the articles that I also shared in here, we don't need to open them up. I'm just saying when we put them into the source, the audience actually will be able to see that specifically this glass vision board actually was a huge step and a huge challenge in development.
Yeah.
And also something that Apple's really careful about, which is why, for example, they did not include fitness. So when you look at the Meta Quest 3, fitness is one of the major super apps that they're actually including with this new device. Apple did jump over or did not mention Fitness Plus at all, even though it's a subscription service. As we all know, one of the major KPIs for Apple to grow. So services. So actually, it would make a lot of sense when they include Fitness Plus with a Vision Pro, just like with AirPods. But they did not, and the reason for that is because just like iPhone 1 or iPhone 2, whatever you want to call it, the glass on the outside is so fragile in the moment, even though it is Gorilla Glass, as far as I understand. Apple is too scared of bringing people into the mode of, I'm going to do fitness with it, destroying it, and then having a huge replacement bill. Maybe these will go for a Vision, I don't know, SE, a Vision regular, we'll see.
Or maybe even like a sports Vision or something.
Vision Fitness, I can already see that.
I mean, I had the same issue with the Apple Watch. It's such a beautiful piece of design and technology, and it's expensive. And I always thought I would never wear this for sports activities because I'm going to break it and I'm going to sweat on it. But it actually is designed to be worn also for sports, and you have these fitness tracking apps and everything. I'm still not doing it, but people are doing it, and so maybe there will be an edition which is sweat resistant and does not break as easily.
Also with the stripe around the hat, I think I read one article where someone was like, I tried it on and it messed up my hair. It was you can adjust it, but it kind of still, not the best solution probably. So also in a sports version, that has to be taken care of.
Yeah, but that's a good point. I read a lot of hate comments, in the first hour after the release, where people were mocking the design and they said it looks like skiing goggles and with these animated eyes, and it's so ridiculous. And of course it is strange. It is something new. It did not exist up till now. But we know Apple, and we know that they are a trendsetter, and we know that they are not going to scrap this project within the next year because they say, we don't like it anymore. They are going to go through with this.
And I mean, just remember, I just had the conversation today with a colleague, and, back then when they introduced the AirPods, everyone was like, oh my God, so ridiculous, not going to use it. They will fall out. This looks stupid, whatever. And now everyone uses it and runs around with it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And fun fact from also, then again, insights from the production, Apple actually told all of them, so their suppliers for the Vision Pro, had said that it will follow a very similar path as AirPods did. So AirPods doubled in the first year and doubled again. And they said they don't expect it to double, even though they ordered such a low amount of those headsets in the first year, that I think maybe the potential for doubling actually is there to the second year. But what I want to say is, I think, Henrike, that comparison actually is ideal because even Apple expects this to sell like AirPods. There is so much more to cover. I mean, we didn't talk about FaceTime. We didn't talk about Freeform. We didn't talk about the ability to switch between AR and VR. But when we look at the time, I think we're up for today.
Exactly. But it is so exciting. And even though we are usually not centered on these consumer product reviews, I think this was really a super impressive WWDC, especially with this focus of this new device. And it's so sad that Chris is not with us in this particular round, because he, as our VR master, I'm sure that he also has a lot of opinions. And so I could imagine that in one of the next episodes of the Tech Review, we will come back to this device and see what might have happened until then in later news, right? But until then, have a great day and see you next time at the Tech Review. See you then. Bye.